Hey, good morning. Just had the bike back from its 1 year service, about 5,000 miles on it. Just thought I'd give you a quick run through of the servicing, the costs, the recall bits that were done on it, things you might want to watch out for yourself, things you should be doing really before you take it in for a service, because a lot of the recall stuff actually is not really recall, it's just checking on the bike. So 5,000 miles was the first service mileage for me, and just over a year because of the coronavirus outbreak. Total cost of service £216, that's including all the tax. So 56 quid of that was for the oil, filter, sundries, grease, copper washers, etc. and £160 labour. Pretty competitive with the market, I guess. I suppose it's a little on the high side. I mean, you're not far off BMW territory there. If I'm perfectly honest, it's cost me about 250 quid for a BMW service. So, things they checked on the recalls. Now there's quite a few of these, so I had 8 on my list of stuff that they looked at. So one of them was checking the sump cover and the fixing, and there's a few of those have fallen off, I think, in the wild. Really, just 4 bolts, shouldn't be that complicated. The gearbox cover towards the back of the engine, they've had to replace 2 indicators on my bike because they missed it up. That's another fairly common problem, I hear. The rear cardan, which you see a lot of comments on Facebook, they checked that for me, absolutely fine on mine. Mine was a very early bike actually, it was one of the first few bikes out of the factory, so chances are mine had probably a little bit more attention than the more recent bikes because they were putting it on the line. I think what's happened is they've sold a lot of these bikes and they've had to take on more staff to do it and build it, and I'm guessing the training's a little bit behind the experienced guys. They put a recall out which was dropping it from 180 millilitres fill in the back to, I think it's 150 or 160, just to stop it actually coming out under pressure, which is what the issue was. The rear foot peg circlips, a few of those have fallen off again out in the wild, because us new early adopters tend to be the best testers of the bike. No problem with mine, doesn't look like I've replaced the circlips either, so it was just a simple check. There's some comments online around the clutch cable guide arch. Mine seats and roots just fine, so no need to do anything with mine. On the saddle, lumbar nuts underneath the saddle can come loose, and then the lumbar support can fall out if you're not careful. It's a very simple check, so I'd recommend you do that one anyway before you put it in. I also had an issue on my bike with the slight rust spotting on the pannier frames. The rust spotting was so light they actually haven't even bothered replacing the panniers because it just wasn't any pannier frames, there was no need. It's a quick brush off and treat it with ACF 50 when I get home. I could have done it myself, to be honest, but I wanted them to see it before I did it. So what else has gone wrong on the bike in the year I've had it? Well, I blew a fuse on the engine. That's totally my own fault. I forgot that I'd put a 3 amp fuse in the side auxiliary socket, so as soon as I plugged my air compressor in, it blew it. Fortunately, Moto Guzzi are very kind and they have spare fuses sat next to the fuse block under the saddle, so just pinch one of those to put in and it got me home, no problem at all. And the only thing I did notice is when I got it back from the service, they've replaced the side stand on my bike. Now I don't know whether this is a recall or not. First of all, I was questioning whether they'd actually changed it or not, because I noticed little dots of green paint on it, which weren't there before. But then they've still left the label on the actual side stand, and it's dated 09/2019, and I bought mine in May 2019, so it's absolutely a new stand, no doubt about it. Wasn't mentioned at all by the mechanics or the guys, so whether they spotted something, whether they damaged it themselves and changed it, who knows, but whatever the situation is, I've got a new side stand on the bike. Other than that, she's been faultless, and in fact of all of those recalls and checks, they didn't actually have to do any work on the bike other than just replacing the 2 indicators. So either I had a good early bike which had lots of attention paid to it, or actually all of these sort of stuff you see out in the wild is just a very, very small percentage of the bikes, maybe down to just 1 or 2 newly trained qualified apprentices. But certainly I've got no complaints with it, and she's run faultlessly.